This is every single Star Destroyer class explained. Venator class. Known also as the Jedi or Republic cruiser, the Venator class Star Destroyer was used throughout the Clone Wars by the Galactic Republic and also saw use by the early Galactic Empire. Developed by Kuat Drive Yards, the Venator drew inspiration in its design from a Mandalorian warship used by the Neo-Crusaders a millennia earlier, but was more of a direct successor to the smaller in size Acclamator-class assault ship. Serving as the backbone of the Republic Navy, the Venator measured 1,137 meters in length and 548 in width. Its most distinctive feature was undoubtedly the dorsal hangar doors, which ran up the spine of the vessel and allowed for the quick deployment of starfighters. The Venator generally carried a crew of about 7,400 personnel, but could also hold an additional 2,000 troops in addition. The ship carried a complement of 420 Republic starfighters. Well designed primarily for ship-to-ship combat, the Venator had secondary roles ranging from starfighter carrier to military transport and battleship escort. The Venator was considered heavily armed and armored, enough to lead assaults on rim worlds, but was also fast enough to chase down blockade runners. Venators were protected by powerful deflector shields and boasted a range of weaponry, most notably 8 dual DBY-827 heavy turbo laser turrets, which could rotate and track fast-moving targets. There were actually two classes of Venator, the Venator 1 class and Venator 2 class. The Venator 1 is the one we've been referencing so far, as it's the one heavily featured throughout the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith. The Venator 2 was introduced in the miniature game Star Wars Armada. It's said to be equipped with a smaller, forward-mounted hangar bay at the very front of the ship. There's also speculation that the Venator 2 was the ship Obi-Wan exited as he left for Utapau. This Venator had a much smaller dorsal hangar bay door. This would leave the ship far less vulnerable in battle, and seems like a logical upgrade for a second-generation Venator. As the Empire rose to power, Venators were stripped of the colorful red and yellow markings of the Republic models. Imperial class. Replacing the Venator class was the much larger Imperial class, coming in at 1,600 meters long and 985 meters wide. At the height of its power, the Empire operated over 25,000 ISDs, striking fear into the soldiers of rebellious factions. Imperial Star Destroyers possessed a main battery of 6 heavy turbo lasers and 2 heavy ion cannons, arranged flanking the ship's tower structure. It was also armed with 60 standard turbo lasers and 60 ion cannons. The ISD's crew consisted of approximately 9,200 personnel and was capable of carrying 72 TIE fighters. This included 12 TIE bombers and 12 TIE interceptors, along with 8 Lambda-class shuttles, 20 AT-AT walkers, and 30 AT-STs. Rather than along the spine of the ship like the Venator, the Imperial Star Destroyer's hangar was located on its belly. This was better suited for the deployment of ships to the surface of occupied Imperial worlds. There were 2 versions of the ISD, the Imperial 1 class and Imperial 2 class. The main visual difference between the two was the shape of the tractor beam generators located atop their command bridges. As you can see on screen, the Imperial 1's was an X shape, while the 2's was straight and less tall. As one would expect, the Imperial 2 class was said to boast various upgrades in its capabilities. However, the details are vague, and the overall specs are relatively similar to the Imperial 1. Imperator class. Quick disclaimer, there are no official images of the Imperator. We'll make use of fan designs or utilize Venator and Imperial Star Destroyers because the Imperator is essentially the class that slots between them. Appearing in small numbers, the Imperator witnessed limited service before the end of the Clone Wars, before Kuat Drive Yards reworked the design into the Imperial class, and production of the refined Star Destroyer was increased under the Galactic Empire. Interdictor class. Serving a very specific role for the Imperial Navy, the Interdictor class Star Destroyer was a rare sight. It possessed 4 spherical gravity well projectors, capable of emitting an interdiction field to pull passing ships out of hyperspace or prevent them from jumping to light speed. It was considered a very dangerous design by rebel groups that relied on hit-and-run tactics. Princess Leia Organa herself went as far as saying, if the Empire knew how to build smart, not just big, they would have made thousands more interdictors. If they had, we might not have survived. Though it was decently armed for its size, it was a high-priority vessel that was generally unable to hold its own in combat against other capital ships. Victory Class. Used by both the Republic and Imperial navies, the Victory line of Star Destroyers were much smaller than the Venator and Imperial class, measuring 900 meters in length. Like with the previously mentioned vessels, there were also two versions of this ISD, the Victory 1 class and Victory 2 class. The Victory 1 was rushed into service during the Clone Wars and garnered a negative reputation as it had a degree of design flaws that required continuous maintenance by crew members to keep the vessel combat ready. It quickly gained the reputation of being an unlucky ship and was seen as a spacefaring coffin. Luckily, the Victory 1 was given a life extension program that saw it transform into the Victory 2. The repurposed ships often served as defense for a planetary garrison and fulfilled light patrol duties on the edges of the Galactic Empire's territory in deep space. An Imperial officer being assigned to a Victory 2 class was often seen as the end of their career. Onager class. Nicknamed the Imperial Siegebreaker, the Onager was the hammerhead shark of Star Destroyers. All jokes aside, this thing was a super weapon shrouded in secrecy. Initially developed to swiftly eradicate separatist holdouts that remained after the Clone Wars, and to bring core worlds under the control of the Empire, the Onager was considered to be a possibly greater threat than even the Death Star. That's because of its super laser that was powerful enough to engage capital ships from extremely long range, as well as conduct cataclysmic assaults on planets. It was more of an orbital bombardment platform than a capital ship used in destroying planetary shields. Gladiator class. Originally designed to serve as a capital ship escort during the Clone Wars, the Gladiator class was repurposed to perform as an independent, long-range patrol vessel. It was by far the smallest Star Destroyer deployed by the Imperial Navy, measuring 600 meters in length. Still, its crew of roughly 1,000 had all of the means to pacify an entire star system. The warship held the capacity to perform system patrols, orbital bombardments, and escort missions. There were two versions, the Gladiator 1 and 2, with the second version incorporating better anti-starfighter capabilities with increased range on its guns. Tector class. Appearing as a background ship during the Battle of Endor in Return of the Jedi, the Tector class was essentially an Imperial 2 class that lacked a ventral hangar bay. Resurgent class. Replacing the aging Imperial class was the Resurgent class, appropriately named as it was utilized by the First Order, the resurgence of the Empire. In fact, the Resurgent class was almost twice as big as the Imperial class, clocking in at over 2,900 meters long and 1,400 meters wide. Serving as the backbone of the First Order Navy, it had virtually no equal when it entered service. That's because the First Order was more strapped for resources and couldn't sacrifice ships the way that the Empire could with its ISDs. Therefore, they better equipped the Resurgent and fixed many of its predecessors' design flaws. The Resurgent featured a complement of 19,000 officers and 55,000 enlisted personnel. The vessel was armed with over 1,500 turbo lasers and ion cannons. Zeiston class. Making up the Sith Eternal Fleet was over 1,000 Zeiston-class Star Destroyers, which were equipped with super lasers capable of annihilating any world or ship. The Sith Star Destroyer represented the culmination of Darth Sidious's vision of a galaxy forced into submission by sheer military might and intimidation. The Zeiston-class Star Destroyer would prove to be the most powerful ship ever made in galactic history, but all were destroyed one after the other at great cost by the Resistance during the Battle of Exegol. Secutor class. This Star Destroyer was perhaps the largest dedicated starfighter carrier in the Imperial Navy, measuring 2,200 meters long. As a carrier, the Secutor class featured two gaping ventral hangar bays, which could carry two wings of 144 total starfighters, as well as numerous other shuttles and ground vehicles. This ship was heavily armed with a wide variety of turbo lasers, heavy ion cannons, and tractor beams. Cause class. The Cause class Star Destroyer was never visually depicted, but it was said to test the firing of Kyber crystal-powered weapons ahead of the development of the first Death Star. The Cause was likely the early version of the previously discussed Onager class Star Destroyer. Aggressor class. Moving on to some Star Destroyers which only appeared in Star Wars Legends, The Aggressor-class Star Destroyer wasn't the typical arrowhead shape of the others we've covered so far. The Aggressor was armed with 2 powerful linked guns, which fired a large ion pulse, followed by an enormous spiraling plasma shot. The ion shot disabled the shields, so the plasma shot could do maximum damage. However, once the main cannons were destroyed, the ship was nearly helpless. Baccarat class. Forming the backbone of the Baccaran defense fleet, the Baccarat-class Star Destroyer was designed around the power reactor of the Imperial II class. Only 3 Baccarat-class destroyers were confirmed to have been built, though there was speculated to be more. Chiss Star Destroyer. Utilized by the Chiss Ascendancy, the Chiss Star Destroyer somewhat resembled the Empire's Victory class, but its grey hull was slightly longer and slimmer, giving it an aggressive, needle-shaped appearance. It primarily saw use during the Chiss conflict with the Kalik. Pelion class. Named in honor of the former Imperial Grand Admiral Pelion, the Pelion class was considered one of the most powerful warships in the galaxy and noted as having unmatched weapon systems and starfighter components. It began its service over 100 years after the Empire's defeat at the Battle of Endor. Imperius class. Known also as the Advanced Star Destroyer, the Imperius class was built during the Second Imperial Civil War for Darth Krayt's fleet. It was an overall improvement of, and successor to the Pelion-class Star Destroyer. Nebula class. Also referred to as the Defender class, this Star Destroyer was the largest, most powerful warship design in the New Republic's New Class Modernization program. It was built to match up to an Imperial II class, despite only being 65% of its size. Its small size often led to it being called a pocket Star Destroyer. Turbulent class. Another smaller class of Star Destroyer was the Turbulent, which was used by the Imperial Remnant following the Swarm War. Republic class. Another successor to the Victory class, the Republic class was one of the early warship models developed for the New Republic's standardization programs. Finally, we'll mention the Rejuvenator class and Soranan class Star Destroyers, though no images of these ships exist. But let us know in the comments if we missed any out. Also tell us which Star Destroyer class is your favorite. Come join us to chat more at our community Discord server, linked in the description. If you enjoyed today's Star Wars video, we've got more on the screen for you right now. Also make sure to drop a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe to join the Red Squadron. Until next time, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. Red 5, standing by.